Today, we're going to unravel a really complex web of global energy and politics. We're looking at a huge oil squeeze, and specifically, how sanctions aimed at Russia are creating some serious and, honestly, pretty unexpected challenges for India. So, you see headlines about US sanctions on Russia all the time, right? But the real story, the interesting part, is often in the ripple effects. How does a decision made thousands of miles away in Washington, D.C., end up putting one of the world's biggest economies in such a tight spot? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down. Okay, so to really get the impact on India, we have to start with the cause. And this all kicks off with a massive global power play, sanctions that are aimed right at the heart of Russia's economy. It's oil. Specifically, the U.S. is going after two of Russia's absolute energy giants, Rosneft and Lukoil. Now, the official reason given for these sanctions goes back to their role in financing Russia's 2014 annexation of Crimea. Believe me, this is way more than a slap on the wrist. It's a strategic move designed to hit them where it really, really hurts. And to get a sense of just how big this is, just look at this number, 3.1 million. On its own, it's just a number, right? But what it actually represents is staggering. That's 3.1 million tons of oil processed by just those two companies every single day. Let that sink in. We're talking about half of Russia's entire oil output. So when you sanction these companies, you're not just making a political point. You are trying to turn off a massive global spigot of oil. And that brings us right to India. As a huge energy importer and a country that partners with everyone, India finds itself caught squarely in the middle of this geopolitical crossfire. And its position is, well, let's just say it's complicated. You see, within India, the squeeze isn't hitting everyone the same way. It's affecting three very different kinds of players in very different ways. You've got the state-owned distributors, you've got the massive private refiners, and then you have companies with direct Russian ownership. And as we're about to see, their stories could not be more different. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's like we're watching a corporate drama play out in real time, a story of winners and losers, where a company's entire fate can hang on its ownership structure. So how is anyone getting around this? Well, for India's state-owned giants, think Indian Oil or Hindustan Petroleum, there's a bit of a workaround. The sanctions block direct trade, sure, but oil is a global shell game. The crude simply gets rerouted through intermediaries, and for these companies, the oil keeps flowing. For now, anyway. But then you have a company like Nayara Energy. Just look at this ownership structure. The sanctioned Russian giant Rosneft owns a whopping 49% of the company. That direct financial tie is about to become a very, very big problem. And this just lays it out perfectly. It is such a stark contrast. On one side, you have the state-owned companies using middlemen to keep the oil coming. On the other side, because of that direct Russian ownership, Nayara Energy is just cut off, completely banned from getting Russian oil. It's the same country, same industry, but two totally different realities. And what about the biggest private player of them all, Reliance? They had a massive 25-year deal locked in with Rosneft, but now they're facing an incredibly tough choice. What's their strategy going to be? Well, it looks like they'll have to slash their intake from Russia and quickly pivot to other partners like Saudi Arabia and Iraq to fill that huge gap. And let me tell you, a shift like that is enormous and expensive. Now, these decisions being made in corporate boardrooms don't just stay there. They create powerful ripple effects that are felt across the entire Indian economy. And here's one of the most direct consequences for everyday people in India. Messing with this flow of Russian crude could lead to a shortage of something vital that India imports from Russia: diesel. And that affects everything: trucking, farming, you name it. Of course, this whole situation isn't happening in a vacuum. Other global heavyweights are watching very closely. China, for one, has officially condemned the sanctions, flat out calling them a violation of international law. So that just adds another layer of geopolitical tension to this whole mess. This chart does a great job of visualizing the scramble that's happening right now. You can literally see the strategic shift playing out. As the supply from Russia is forced down, India has to look elsewhere, ramping up imports from other major producers like Saudi Arabia and Iraq. The energy map is literally being redrawn as we speak. So, what does this all boil down to? Well, for India's leaders, it's the ultimate challenge. It's an incredibly high-stakes balancing act with almost no room for error. You could call it an economic balancing act. On one hand, the government has to figure out how to manage rising fuel costs for its citizens. But on the other hand,
it has to navigate these intense, complex geopolitical pressures from all sides. It is the classic definition of being stuck between a rock and a hard place.
And all of this leaves us with the critical, final question. India absolutely needs energy security to power its massive, growing economy. But at the same time, it's facing immense political pressure from its global partners. Can it actually walk this tightrope? The answer is going to have consequences not just for India, but for the entire global energy market.